morning, Stockholm. Welcome to day 2 of Developer Days. Before we get things kicked off, we're going to have an opening session by Guru, who is our VP for product management for provider connectivity. And one of the things that I want to point out, so Guru owns both the automation and the routing portfolio within Cisco. And one of the reasons we do that is a recognition that operational simplicity, time to value, is all central to building networks, and they shouldn't be two separate things. So we have them all rolled into a single organization. We align priorities, we align messages, we strive for delivering simplicity. So without further ado, I will hand things over to Guru, who will talk a little bit about his view of simplicity in the network.
Good morning, everyone. Omar said it right. Arguably, one of the biggest reasons we do automation is to drive simplicity in the network. And it's the tooling is great, and it's essential. And we talk a lot about it, right? This event, for the most part, has been about how do you use automation capabilities and software to simplify the network. But one of the things I want to start talking about, if I can find the, is this the one? Yep. Yeah. So one of the things that I want to start off by emphasizing is it's not just the tooling. The fundamental infrastructure needs to offer the ability to run simplified networks. And so, one of the things that we emphasize quite a bit internally at Cisco is how do we make sure that the infrastructure that we build, the hardware, the software, the platforms, the architecture, is all aligned to drive that simplicity that your automation capabilities can tap into. And so, we touched a little bit upon this for those of you who were in the audience yesterday when we did the panel. But I want to give you 2 examples and show how that matters. The first one is, how do we come up with simplified architectures at the fundamental network level, right? And this is a great example. It's an architecture we call routed optical networking. And this is really about bringing IP and optical layers together. You can see the picture on the left. It shows 3 different layers. You have the bottommost optical layer, that's ROADMs and such. And then you could have an OTN layer in the middle. And then, of course, the IP packet layer on top. And for decades, that has been the mode of operation. And what we are moving to now, the architecture that's available today and already deployed in a lot of networks, many of you may be familiar with this already, is really that convergence of IP and optical layers. And so you essentially end up with a single layer that allows you to bring all of these together. Right away, visually, it's clear that the benefits are many. You have fewer elements to manage. Obviously, there are cost and power and other kinds of savings as well, but simply the fact that you have far fewer elements to manage makes it easier to drive that network and deploy all those services in a much more simplified manner. And when you do that, obviously it helps you scale better, it provides better resiliency and all of the things that you're trying to do as you automate all of the provisioning, monitoring, and everything else on top of it. The other example that I want to give you is this one. If you look at this, it's a traditional network architecture, and this is a super simplified view of multiple domains, right? You have the access, core, edge, and then the data center. And if you look at historically how all these networks have been plumbed together, it's different protocols. At the transport level, you may have Ethernet for your access technologies, plain Ethernet. You could have MPLS in the core, and then IP in the data center again. And then you have the service layer on top, which is, again, maybe L2 VPNs in the access, L3 VPNs in the middle of your network, and then VXLAN or such to provide the data center services. And so plumbing all of those is an effort. And this is what, if you have this kind of an infrastructure, which exists today in a lot of networks, then all of the tooling, no matter how much you simplify, how much you automate, you're still going to have to do all of that. And this is where some of the points that Clarence yesterday was making come into the picture. You can replace all of that stack of different protocols across domains with segment routing end-to-end. SRv6 is where we are going towards now, right? We've evolved beyond SRMPLS, as he demonstrated yesterday. and then a single service layer on top, EVPN driven. And now this makes it much easier because your tooling also gets simplified on top of that. So this is just another example of how base infrastructure level innovation can drive simplicity and drive easier automation. And this is the point I want to make. You'll have a lot of great sessions as you go through the rest of the day. I think we have some amazing sustainability sessions coming up, and then AI. But as builders, one of the things we do is make sure that throughout the network infrastructure stack, we have architectures that drive simplicity. And as practitioners, you and us need to insist on that as well. When you go off into your real lives and work on automating things, demand that the network underneath should have that simpler architecture as well. And this is what we are all aiming for, right? Across hardware, software, and architectures. There's a lot of examples. I won't go into any other detail here, but I'll just call out a few things. When we talk of hardware, it begins by ensuring that we have the right silicon building blocks, we have the right platforms that have converged functionality, so you don't need to deploy multiple platforms for purposes, and then optics, right? Optics and optical is a big piece of this. So have that base infrastructure in place, and then the software, which includes a resilient OS that has all of the programmability and API capabilities we talked about, the right data model support, and so forth, for you to automate on top of. And then, of course, architectures. I mentioned a couple of examples, but there's more, right? For example, for subscriber management, there is the CUPS architecture. We call it the Cloud Native BNG. Lots of examples like this. And so I'll leave you with this thought. As we get into the rest of the day, look at architectures, come and talk to us if you need more clarity behind some of these. But I'll leave you with that thought, and I'll hand off to Bertrand next, I guess. Yeah. Thank you.